almost inevitably Jack Grealish being pictured over in Las Vegas, enjoying himself. Could it be said that maybe in certain pictures looks a bit worse for wear? Maybe he does, but he's on holiday. Is it fair? Has he become too easy a target for certain tabloids, certain red tops, to follow the likes of Jack around? There he is, flanked by a couple of gorillas as he's heading to his hotel room, maybe after a night out. And as I say, he's had himself a good time. Is it fair to say, there's Jack, really enjoying himself in Vegas? Do players get annoyed? Is it unfair that this kind of coverage comes their way at this particular time?
Well, it's hard for me to compare because
you
when
behaved yourself at all times.
Well, no, I didn't, and I was guilty of many things.
Were you?
But we didn't have the social media palaver that we've got now.
Exactly.
So it's hard to be too critical. But he has made a rod for his own back, Jack. And he has become a target because he's got himself in some situations that you shouldn't get yourself in, but you've got to overcome and then get on with things and prove yourself to be better. And once you've had a couple of misdemeanors and a couple of problems that have been well documented, you then have to put your head down and stay out of the firing line. And there's ways and means of doing it. You know, even the end of the season stuff, when you've just won the league and you're looking like you're more done in than everyone else and you start saying a couple of silly things. I think you're entitled to...
Do you not think you should be in Vegas? Maybe go somewhere a bit lower profile, low key.
So if I relate it to my own life, I found myself in the infancy of Liverpool, 18 months, a year, 18 months, still going out, get myself in trouble. Rumours started getting about. The club pulled me in on a couple of issues. I was thinking I was above it. I was thinking I've made it, and I hadn't, by the way. I'd been signed at Liverpool. That was it, really. You know, played a few games, and all of a sudden you think and Jack's well ahead of me. He's got a wonderful contract. He's played for his country, and he's won the title. But there's so much more room for him to improve and be better. And I think maybe he's got to get himself into a situation where he's putting himself around better people who don't encourage him to be in Vegas and be the first one at the party and the last one out. You know, you can be more discreet in where you go and how you do it. Especially when you've got that wealth. To maximise his potential. Now, he'll still have a great career and he'll still win things and be successful and very wealthy, but will he be the best he can be by continually putting himself in these positions? He is sought after because of the way he looks, and, you know, he's a bit of a Jack the Lad, excuse the pun. But he could be cuter and cleverer with better support around him on where he socialises and how he's portrayed.
I really like Danny's honesty in that, and I must admit, I go with Danny to a large extent in this, Simon, for a variety of reasons. I mean, now, I no longer drink, but there was a time, sure, I would be first at the bar and last out and make a proper Herbert of myself. But having said that, I remember Jack at the end of the season when Jeff Shreve spoke to him on Sky Sports, when it looked as if they might not, of course, that day. City came through, thanks to Gundogan, amongst others, and won the title. And Jack said, in 4 words, how would I sum up my season? How would I sum up my first season at City? In 4 words, harder than I thought. Harder than I thought.
Sure.
So if that's the case, Jack, maybe it's not the best idea in the world to be pictured in Vegas, looking slightly worse for wear if he was, even though he's on holiday, or should we cut him some slack?
Well, let's put that into context. He's in a space where it's very difficult to make a change from Aston Villa into Man City and operate at a level that Man City players have to operate in after a short period of time. He's not a £100 million footballer. He's a £100 million footballer because Man City were prepared to pay a £100 million release clause, and that's what you've got. Do we believe he's in the right place to develop his career? Is he playing for arguably one of the best coaches that develops players? Yeah, we probably are in that space. Do we believe that him going off and blowing off steam and a gotcha mentality is sensible because it gives a backlash to people being able to make a story out of Jack Grealish's off-the-field activities in close season? Yeah, but so what? Is he not allowed to go out and have a breather and have a blowout because we want to have a gotcha press that turns around and says, you're on holiday, this is the one time when you're able to go and do what you want to do within reason. Why would we have a problem with this? I have a problem with Jack Grealish because I do think at times he's a moron. I do think that he's not but then again, why would anyone think he's a Mensa candidate? He isn't. He doesn't position himself that way. And if he's damaging himself off the pitch by losing brand endorsability because people like Gucci don't want to put their ghastly gear on him anymore, then that's one thing. But are we talking about stopping him from being a top-class footballer? Because Pep Guardiola will be the determiner of that. And Pep Guardiola will evaluate whether this boy's seriousness towards a task in hand to play for the elite football club in English football right now that's won the Premier League 4 times out of 5 is going to be affected by him having a couple of blowouts on a 3-week break after a long season tinged with success, a huge adaptation between playing for an Aston Villa also-ran side to the elite side in English football, albeit I think Liverpool are a better side. I know that doesn't get borne out by the statistics, but I do think they're a better side. I do think, and I've been very hard on Jack Grealish, I think this is an utter irrelevance, and I think it's tripe press. I don't think it needs to find on the front page of a newspaper.
I agree, it's utterly irrelevant. It's irrelevant in the fact that at the end of the season you go be a party and do what you want. It's on the back of other things that it makes it relevant.
And you're absolutely right. And the journey he's been on puts him in a situation where he's now fair game for people as far as they're concerned.
So the journey he's put himself on, and some of them have been exaggerated. When you're turning up at a restaurant drunk and someone videos you, or you've just won a game or whatever, and then you got the thing a couple of years ago where he, outside of the slipper in the car and all these things.
But City signed him on that basis. They signed him the summer before. Summer after,
because you'd hope somebody evolves a little bit. But what I was going to say, and this is the main point, is that yes, Pep will judge, and seems to have judged by not picking him in any big games the last 3 months of the season, really. But the other thing is Southgate at England. Who's he going to pick? If there's a position,
but I don't think Southgate's having him a full stop anyway.
But why?
Because I think his die's been cast. I think because I think Southgate is.
But that's the point, Simon.
But he's one-dimensional in his thinking. I think he's already made his decisions. That's why he can't change games.
Yeah, but what Danny's saying is, has Jack dyed his own cast?
No, well, look, nothing's ever set in stone. Managers have to be able to look at things and see players evolve and become different people and mature and learn from mistakes. But what I'm saying is, when you've got equal ability to someone,
what has he done?
You pick the safer bet, don't you?
But
somebody who's more disciplined.
Okay,
if you're disciplined off the pitch, you're more likely to be disciplined on it.
There is an element of that. There is an element of that, but you can deploy that to Diego Maradona and say his life wasn't based upon discipline. He was a genius.
Exceptions.
Oh, I understand that. But I understand that. But
look at the way Ronaldo and Messi have conducted themselves.
And yes, I understand that too. And you can look at how George Best has conducted himself, and at a young age in his career, he fell apart because of his particular challenges. But I look at the balance of it and say, what did Man City? What do people think they're signing here? When we elected Boris Johnson, did we think we were signing a man or electing a person with integrity? No, we didn't. We knew what he was, but we still elected him. Now we're complaining about what we've got.
Well, you did.
People like no, I didn't actually. But people like Jack Grealish are what they are. They are very wealthy, affluent. Yeah, and where Danny's right is if he doesn't want this adverse publicity, insofar as adverse, I don't even think it's adverse. I think it's incidental. Yeah. But if he doesn't want this, and he shouldn't perhaps want it because it will hurt him in the longer game and make people unfairly judge him.
It might not.
But if he doesn't care, why do we care on his behalf?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
But if he does care, because he doesn't want the unfairness of it all, right, then he should be surrounded by better people, because if you're earning £200,000 a week, £10 million a year, right, £6 million after tax, or £5.5 million after tax, you're in a very elite bracket where you can fly around the world how you want, and you can stay and be looked after and have your bum wiped from dawn till dusk. You don't have to be front and centre in this way. So that's an element of maturity. How old is he? 26?
I don't think he's in a danger zone of falling off a cliff, by the way. That's
not
what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
I think he's just
I just don't think he's very bright.
I just think he's a young lad who's taking it all in and enjoying himself amidst being a footballer.
But he's not very bright.
Well, I take that.
He does an interview after a game.
I've got a former player who's just getting in touch with us saying, listen guys, I'm listening to you. If he hadn't done it more than several times during a season, then okay. But he does have a bad reputation, and he's got to get rid of that reputation.
Well, he hasn't got to. He can choose to enhance his public perception and his career, because there's no doubt, and this is someone who hasn't been at his level, but certainly been at a level where I suffered because of my conduct off the pitch. One thing I didn't get to earlier when I was talking about myself is the fact that the only way I actually stopped getting myself in those positions where people were seeing me in those states, or the club pulling me in, is I moved out of Chester, I moved to a more rural place, and I put myself, and I lost people. I cut some people off who I didn't really want to have to cut off because they were long friends, some of them. And I put myself around people who were in a similar boat to me, who conducted themselves. I remember moving in the same street as Jamie Redknapp on the Wirral. We were going out for healthy dinners, not drinking. Like he was a proper pro, Jamie.
Right.
Like,
there was a cut-off point. You thought, no more of that.
Well, I tell you what,
I'm going in this direction.
A year after I moved out of Chester and sort of Wirral into a more rural place and stopped going out and being around certain people.
Yeah.
Guess what? I started playing every week.
Yeah. There you go.
And I do lay on me.
I'm with you, Danny.
Whereas
this fella's offering himself, Mr. Jordan suggesting to Jack this lunchtime, if you want to go out for a couple of drinks, I'm your man.
No, not true.
I'm
saying get balance.
It's balance.
Yeah.
It's balance. He's never going to be short of it. It's not about money. It's about now, because he's got to a certain level with his super talent.
Yeah.
He's a talent. Can he be the best he can be? The only way to do that is to cut off the other stuff to a degree.
Yeah.
Because the best people, the best footballers on the planet at the moment, and the ones who've done it the most, live a disciplined life.
I hear what you're saying, and I like what you're saying, Danny.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.